here is a kind of 2024 guide in how to get started with chess. You have to know the rules, you have to know the very basics. This video, what I intend to be, is for most people who are kind of more beginner to intermediate range, and more on the beginner side, but hopefully already knows the rules and probably the basics of chess. Now, if you don't know the rules yet, or you don't know the very basics and foundation, well, I actually got you covered there, because here on chess.com, under the More section, there's a section here called Rules, and it shows exactly all these really good basics and how to get started. Really in-depth. I mean, you can just see how long this is. We're just scrolling. I mean, there's a lot of information here. That's just a little bit ways down. I only scrolled like a third or so. There's a lot of useful information there. But especially if you're just starting out, it really tells you kind of the, not only just the basic rules, but also some basic foundational things. Also, really just starting out, another thing I recommend is a blog post I did a while ago. So my very first chess.com blog was on opening principles. And so it'll look like this. All of the resources in this video, I'll try and leave a link to in the video description. So if you want to see this blog post or others that I've wrote or other resources I include, then make sure to check that out at the end of the video. So okay, so hopefully you have the basics down and you know the rules, you know some of the fundamentals like these opening principles. So let's get started with the video and how to get started with chess in 2024. First of all, before you can actually get started with, a goal, you have to first make sure your goal is actually reasonable. Now, a lot of people just skip this step and go right into the chess. You have to be very careful that you have a very sure goal and you are very aware of what that goal is, have an idea what it takes, and you actually make steps in place to actually reach that goal. The problem is if you don't do that, then you run into the problem this blog post mentions, which is you just keep thinking the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence, and you always keep pushing for more and more and more, and you're never satisfied. It's never enough, and it might literally turn into like a little guinea pig going around on that wheel, where you just cannot make progress. And, even if you make rating goals, it shouldn't be a grind that you have to go indefinitely. You should feel good about your accomplishments and your milestones and keep increasing your rating and keep increasing your understanding and hopefully keep increasing your enjoyment of the chess game as you keep getting better at this game. Now, if you have no idea what goal to make and perhaps you're just starting chess, I recommend making your very first goal 1000 chess rating. Now, that might sound simple for the more advanced people, but I assure you that is not so simple. The average chess rating is actually only in the 600s. I actually did a video on that, so you can check that out if you want as well. But 1000, it's better than average by a decent amount, but it's also pretty reasonable. I think by then you kind of have at least the foundations down, and so hopefully that can kind of help you kind of get in the right direction here. Be very sure of your goal and kind of why you want that goal. So okay, so hopefully now that you've got a goal down, so let's get started with the next advice here. Okay, so this almost feels like the first real advice that we have here, because the others are kind of more introductory side of kind of really getting into the beginning, but now we're finally getting into chess. What's the very first thing we should do to try and improve? And probably the most important thing, in my opinion, is probably just playing a bunch of games and analyzing them. But the analyzing them is the extremely important part, because a lot of people just do the first part, they only play games over and over and over, and unfortunately they keep repeating the same mistakes over and over and over. And unfortunately that just reinforces the bad habits and they never improve, and then they're confused about why they're not improving. You must analyze your games. And so when I mean analyze, I mostly mean by a computer. As soon as a game ends, like this game here ended in a draw, you just click this big green button that says Game Review, and then that'll have the computer analyze the game and show you your mistakes and what errors you've made during the game. You can also click the button here, same thing, this game report, but whatever you do, this is really how you improve in chess. Now I'll just click it just to show what it kind of looks like real briefly, and so this game will load. We'll see kind of how long it takes. Usually it takes just a few seconds. If you want to do a deeper analysis, you can do a deeper depth and it'll take longer to run. That's a little bit more advanced. So real briefly, this is just the game report, which is a very rough estimate on the game accuracy, which is a little bit misleading. It's more like a report card. It's not supposed to be literally a percentage and how well every single move was. So it's more of like in this game, 78, I kind of got like a C plus in this game. Not really so great. My opponent, roughly a B. It was like an average game. I didn't play that great, ended in a draw. But nevertheless, you have to analyze those games, especially your losses and also your draws. You definitely need to analyze. But I also recommend analyzing your wins too, because even in your wins, you can convert a little easier. Maybe you miss some tactics. Maybe your opponent missed some tactics. There's a lot of things useful from analyzing your games. Now, unfortunately, with game analysis, you do need a paying membership on chess.com if you do that. However, I do recommend it if you have the money, even a little bit. If you're serious about improving with chess, getting a membership so you can analyze these games is very important and definitely worth the money. Now, if you don't have the money, you can also go to another site called leechess.org, and there you can play games and analyze them for free. Now, I actually like the chess.com interface way better, and I think their engine is a lot better than Leechess, but if you want, that's kind of a free option to throw out there. But okay, so now let's get to the next advice here, which is the daily puzzle, and kind of more puzzles in general, but especially the daily puzzle. Now, I really like the chess.com daily puzzle, a lot. It's almost like back in the day when you kind of pull out a newspaper and you kind of start doing the crossword puzzle. It's kind of the same thing. I like it because it's not always so tactical. Sometimes there's some positional ideas, sometimes it's an endgame study, but my really favorite part of doing these is the fact that you're doing it one every single day. And if you really wanted to, you could actually go here to the calendar and you can actually click through all of these other days and you can actually go back years. You know, you can use this to go back months, so you can go back really far. You can even go all the way back to the first ones on chess.com if you really wanted. And what I really like about the daily puzzle is this option is free. And so even if you have a default free membership on chess.com, this is a really good thing to use. Now, one thing I will say with the daily puzzle, which actually is kind of a thing I actually like, is that the rating of it is actually kind of inconsistent. Because with other puzzles, you kind of get them around your rating. But here with the daily puzzle, when you are on Monday, these puzzles tend to be the easiest. And then Tuesday is slightly harder. Wednesday is a little more intermediate range. And you kind of get the idea. It progresses harder and harder throughout the week. Friday puzzles are kind of tough in my opinion. And then definitely Saturday is very difficult on the weekend. And then Sunday is the dreaded Sunday puzzle, which is like some grandmaster type thing, maybe some really complicated endgame study. But it gets progressively harder throughout the week, and then back on Monday it gets easy again. And you kind of work your way up through it. But I actually recommend doing the daily puzzle literally every single day, regardless what rating you are. And the reason for that is because let's say you're kind of intermediate range and maybe like Wednesday are your ideal puzzle rating. Well, that means Monday and Tuesday are kind of slightly easier for you, and Wednesday, you know, you're okay with. Maybe Thursday you're okay with. But the other ones, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, now you're actually getting puzzles that are way above your rating, and you might think that's harmful, but it's actually a really helpful thing, because now you're being exposed to these more advanced, deeper ideas. And if you can start kind of attempting those puzzles, even with the idea that you might get most of them wrong, it really helps you kind of push further and further and kind of help your overall ability. So the daily puzzle is something I really enjoy. So now what's the third one? So the third one, next bit of advice here, is learning chess notation. Extremely important. And I actually recommend the chess.com vision trainer for this. So if you just go down to this more over here and then you click vision, this is how you get taken to this screen here. And this is a really nice idea to help you learn the coordinates of the board. And it's just a training thing. I believe this you get unlimited as well each day. It's for free. And it's just one way to help really learn the notation on the board. Now, why is this so important as a kind of beginner to intermediate especially? The reason it's so important is because the notation is everywhere. Grandmasters use it when they're analyzing lines. Anyone who writes a chess book, they're probably going to have a long list of lines in algebraic notation. Of course, when you're analyzing your chess games, all of that from the computer is in notation. When you're talking to friends, they're going to describe their moves in notation. And you notice how important this is over and over and over. And if everyone uses it, you know, from your popular streamer to the, you know, beginner at your chess club, all these people use notation. It's extremely useful to have because then you can learn from all of these people if you know the notation. And if you know it extremely well, then it makes it just that much easier to read books, to watch streams, and other places where people talk about chess notation. So here with the Vision Trainer, you can actually train for the coordinates as well as moves. You can just click here. So this one is moves, this one's coordinates. You can even do a combination of both if you wanted. You can flip the board for white or black. And it's just a little training drill where it just gives you like 30 seconds and you just have to try and go through these as fast as you can. Now, I'm not going to play it here, but if we just did like coordinates, for example, see the coordinates are labeled here. If I really wanted to, I could actually show the coordinates or remove them by ticking this little box. And basically what it does is it gives me the 30 seconds to try and literally click as fast as I can. So it's going to pop up on the screen a certain notation, like let's say pawn to e4. And so I would have my pawn on e2, and then I would try and move it up to e4. Or if it's just the coordinates, it would only say one coordinate, and this would be like e4. And so I just have to click the e4 square. And you just do this over and over. It kind of helps you get a better sense of the board and how to read chess notation. Okay, so now the next bit of advice here is actually rating fluctuates a ton. And you might not realize this, especially when you're starting out, or maybe even intermediate range. You haven't fully realized just how much it fluctuates. So, what's really important is to just understand that fact. It sounds simple, but just internalize it for now, because once the going gets tough, you'll really be pushed to your limits mentally, emotionally, and chess is a long-term thing. It's like running a marathon. You can't just go really hard one year because then you're going to burn yourself out. This is a whole lifetime that you should be enjoying the game and hopefully working on your ability or enjoying the game along the way. And you can't do that if you're just really going at it really tough for a very short period of time and then you burn yourself out. So rating fluctuates a ton. And so to show you this, I'm just going to go to the stats. You could also go down here and click whatever time control, but I'm just going to go to my statistics here. So if you go kind of near the profile in the home area, there's this page that says stats. If you click this, or if you were to click on the right side, then it brings you to this page. And then let's just pick rapid, for example, but it can show you stats for whatever time control. And so here you can kind of get an idea of the graph and how much it fluctuates. Now, for 90 days, it's not going to show that much. It's just kind of a normalish thing. Here we can see I actually dropped a good amount, and it doesn't look too bad here, but that's kind of far. That's like 50-ish points that it dropped there, and that was just one day. So it happens to everyone. But you don't really see it until you go to a longer time frame. Let's say like all time, we'll skew it over here, and you can see all these little ups and down bumps. And it's pretty hectic, right? But when you start zooming in, if I can actually zoom in here, some of these are huge drops. Like this is like 100 points here. Like this one's like 50. This is like a 100-point drop. Those are some bad days where it can be a really downswing, or maybe just a day or two back to back. And now you're down 100 points, It fluctuates a ton. And so, you can see how many of these little blips we have here that, it's a process of learning. And so you don't want to get too attached to the rating. It's a very common mistake. What we want is the emphasis on improving. We want the emphasis on getting better, and that has nothing to do with the number. The number is just there, but if you get better, if your chess overall understanding improves, then hopefully your rating will catch up to your ability. So, use the numbers as a general milestone idea, or maybe some kind of guide of roughly where you're at, but don't be obsessing over losing 1 or 2 rating points, or even in a bad session. Now, to help protect you from some of these losses, I made some really important videos. One of them is on curing tilt, and one of them is on my stop-loss system, which are extremely useful videos to check out. Now, my stop-loss system is to actually help you not lose chess rating, and that's very closely connected to my other video on tilt, which is if you think you suffer from tilt, or even if you're just not so sure, definitely check it out because it's a very long, in-depth guide. My one on tilt is almost an hour long, and my stop-loss one is almost half hour, but it is extremely well-invested time. So that can help save you literally countless hours with chess. If you can just eliminate a few of those drops from your game, then it's just that many hours that you're saving, and you can be working on improving your chess rating instead of trying to recover rating that you lost. My next category here is time control, and so that refers to how long you have for each chess game. Here you can see that most of my games are 10-minute games, and that's what most people are going to be playing. And that's just because 10 minutes just so happens to be the most popular time control on chess.com. If you don't know where to start, I would go with the 10-minute games. Now, I would not advise playing anything faster than this, especially intermediate or even beginner range. 100% stick with longer games. If you can afford 10-minute games or longer, that will help you a ton in the long run. I feel like a lot of people, when they're starting out especially, they see a lot of streamers playing Blitz online, sometimes even Bullet, and both of those can be extremely harmful to your chess. There are times where you can actually use that successfully to help your chess, but when you're starting out and learning the foundation and the basics and kind of learning the fundamentals, that is not the time. So perhaps when you get more higher intermediate to advanced range, you have a little bit more leeway for playing speed chess. But even then, if you really want to improve, longer games is the way to go. Now, 10 minutes is actually 10 minutes per side, so the chess game could take up to 20 minutes long. And so 20 minutes is a decent length. Now, the thing with chess is, when you're first starting out, you really don't even know what to look for. And so you're not calculating as much, you're not visualizing as much, you're not planning as much. And you don't have those things in mind, so you're not doing them. You feel like you're playing the game, you have a ton of free time. And then when you get a little higher, you start realizing all these things that you probably should be doing. You start looking for them in the games. And as a result, you need even more time. And then what happens? And then you get really advanced. And then it's like, well, now you know all the stuff you have to do, but then you're a little better at doing it. And so then it's not taking as long again. So it's kind of an interesting thing where it's like when you're very advanced and when you're very starting out, you feel like you don't need as much time, but in all cases, usually having more time is better. So my next bit of advice here is actually kind of more like a bonus one, because this one is not directly about chess itself, but it can definitely help you improve. And so this is where I believe chess.com really shines through. So here I think chess.com's community element is definitely 100%, it is literally the best in the world. Chess.com is an amazing community, largest chess site in the world. And so if you go to the social section, there's a lot of things that you can use on chess.com to help you. So here there's clubs, which you can join a lot of clubs that are definitely involved with trying to help people improve their chess. But there's also other clubs that are just kind of friendly groups. Extremely helpful to have like-minded people you can discuss chess with. But really what I love absolutely a lot, of course the blogs are nice, coaches are nice as well, but especially the forums. So if you go to the forums, you just click that here, and anyone can go in the forums. Even if you have a free chess.com membership, you can access the forums. And so you just go to the forums here, and then this is extremely useful. Now, of course, there's going to be off-topic forums, and of course, there's going to be a few people online who are, it's online. They're probably kind of more on the troll end of the spectrum. Don't be one of those people. Be one of the helpful people that actually contribute to the community. But you can also learn a ton from the forums. Now, you have to know where to look, though. So basically, here's kind of what I do. Look for someone who knows what they're doing and has higher chess rating and seems helpful, seems like they're helping other people. There's a lot of people who are lower rated and have some really great advice. There's also some intermediate to higher rated players that really give some bad advice. So what you have to do is kind of see, how active are they, with helping others, and are they giving resources? Are they giving blog posts? Are they giving, links to things? If they have all of those, there's a better chance that they do know what they're talking about. But what's extremely helpful is you can always create your own topic here. You can just read these other topics, and just the ability to post a topic and have someone literally answer it, especially higher rated players, is extremely useful. I think that's not, I think it's a resource that's not utilized enough by most people. So here, like you have all these sections, especially game analysis if you want your games analyzed. Now, if you do that, try analyze it yourself first. Have your own information, your own input, and then bring it to this. And the reason for that is so people know your thought process. If you just throw a game out there and be like, here, analyze this, most people are probably not going to be too keen on helping you, because why should they help you do the work that you didn't even want to do yourself? But if you look like you're trying, maybe you annotate your games, maybe you kind of describe your thought process throughout, maybe there's a certain moment in the game where you want to ask about, that's the kind of thing that a lot of people in the forums will really help you out with. But then especially general chess discussion and even the beginners section, all of these, and as well as the others, extremely helpful, I think, for really helping people improve. So if you want, definitely use the forums. It's a great resource. And, it's really such a huge asset that you can just post a question and someone, perhaps a chess expert or better, could just answer you. That's crazy, because back in the day, you had to pay for coaching. These people are online giving advice for free, and oftentimes it's really good advice. I hope that those kind of advice things help to you. That can help you get started with chess in 2024. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next chess video.